I've become aware recently, as in like today, of kind of how jaded I am becoming or have become living in the city. It's a really interesting thing because I grew up thinking that Toronto was just so uninteresting. Like I thought that like, oh, this is not where people like want to go on vacation. This is not like one of the great cities of the world. Because, you know, there were movies set here, but I don't know, it always seemed just like, oh, that's weird. You know, like it's like when they set a movie in Chicago or something and you're like, Chicago. I mean, whatever. But I was watching TikToks today or yesterday, and so many of the ones that are Toronto specific TikTok, I just spent so long complaining to my coworker about today. Like, it's just, there's like this kind of brand of monotonous content that is like being super pushed at me on TikTok because like they spied on me and they know I'm from the city or whatever. And that's how I know that this is a great city, because like I feel like that's how New Yorkers feel about New York. Like, oh, Times Square. I feel like this is me just being absolutely loosey-goosey, but I feel like Yonge and Dundas Square is kind of like Times Square, but like not quite, but there are parallels. Like the Eaton Center thing is like, there are flagship stores in the Eaton Center now, you know, and there's like the billboards, of course, and like the big plaza, but I think also just how overrated people from the city think it is. Anyway, what's new with you? I also feel like jaded is gonna be my word of the week, because thanks to Emma for bringing it up in one of her anecdotes. I guess thanks to Richard for saying it in the first place. But it's a great word. It's very relevant to the lifestyle of someone in their early 20s. I also think that it's cooler to be genuinely relatable than it is to be totally unique. Like, I mean, I try to be relatable. We're getting into theory now, I think. When I try to relate to people, it's usually through like fundamental things, like the way that people feel about like food and colors and just like their perception of the world. And I feel like I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I feel like I had like a real solid point somewhere that I maybe wrote down even at work. Oh, my point was that I have this impulse to like gatekeep Sylvia Plath because I read those books in high school. Those books, I mean her novel and her poetry collections, in high school, and they resonated with me so fundamentally that I was like, no one else can understand these poems better than me. But now I'm thinking the fact that they're poems that a lot of people don't understand. There are people who also love Sylvia Plath, and I used to like poo-poo at them and be like, I like Sylvia Plath more than anyone. But now I think like that's the kind of person you want to connect with, the kind of person who has the like appreciation, if not the same kind of appreciation, but like understanding the value of something that you resonate with very fundamentally. But also I'm rereading The Bell Jar now, and I feel like if I can't ever play Esther in some kind of adaptation, I will scream. Like, I kind of, the way that I was like, I'm never gonna play Franny Salinger, Franny Glass, was I'm like, no, because in 40 years, I feel like it's gonna be sorted out. Someone's going to be able to be trusted to do like a faithful and like artful movie adaptation of Franny and Zooey. I don't know if that's the end of that sentence or not. I got really carried away. But I do feel like that'll happen in 40 years. Someone will make it happen. And I think that I was born to play Bessie Glass in that production. Because I also am like, I could see my career going in the direction of like Celeste Holm. She's great. She has excellent taste. But I think in order to try to really make it as an actor, I have to set realistic long-term goals for myself so that when I pass a what's the term? I want to say checkpoint. When I pass like an area that I had assumed to achieve a certain goal by, I just have the next goal to go into. It's like, maybe I won't be acting in this by this point, but I will be here by this point, blah, 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 blah. You kind of got to give yourself hope by giving yourself aspirations. Esther Greenwood is so me, though. Like, every time I read that book, I just see so. I feel completely seen. People always say that book is depressing, because I think of the fact that it's known to be semi-autobiographical, and everyone knows how Sylvia Plath died. Like, that's like the thing people know about her. So I think when I brought that book up, a lot of people are like, oh, that's depressing. But it's such a beautiful book that has so much hope in it, and it was completed before Sylvia Plath ever died. Like, I think it's like she wrote it to give herself some kind of hope, or it just kind of reads that way. And I hate that it gets written off as a depressed book because she was no longer able to maintain that hope.